Psych! I didn't actually meet Joe Biden, but if I did, these were the 3 issues that I would talk to him about, so stick around. Alright, so the mental health crisis. Well, like I've said, the goal with my band Church Burglars is to win a Grammy by 2025. Not to just win a Grammy, but to change the world. And one of the things I think is the way to change the world is to address the mental health crisis, because nobody's talking about it. Everybody just throws out the problem, but nobody actually talks about a solution. So first off, let's break down the problem. We live in a world of reality dysmorphia created by social media. We live in a world where people try to make their social media life different than their real life. And we get sucked into the world of social media, which is a problem. It creates more and more depression. A little statistic for you: the number of kids, meaning kids ages 5 to 12, that are on antidepressants between 2015 to 2020 has increased by 41%. That's a big number. So kids are getting more depressed. This is not just adults. This is not just the people watching this video. This is like young kids, like 5-year-old kids who are on antidepressants. That's terrifying, and that's a problem that we need to address. We have another problem of just mass violence in general, mass shootings. It's a problem in our country. It is. Mass violence is not specific to the United States. Mass shootings is. Whether or not guns is the problem, guns is the solution, I'm not going to talk to you about that. That's for you to argue about in the comments. But at the end of the day, we have people who are sick enough in the head to want to inflict mass murder on people, whether it's with a gun, with a knife, serial killers, whatever. We have people sick enough in the head who want to create that much chaos, that much death, who want to kill people. That's not okay. That is a mental health problem. The tools they use is the tools, and we can argue about that until we're blue in the face. But at the end of the day, you have people who want to kill other people. That's not good. That's not okay. We need to fix that. Additionally, we have this wonderful thing called the opioid crisis. Now, what's interesting is the opioid crisis only exists in America. It's not a worldwide problem. It is a America-specific problem. Why is that? Well, if you look into the history of the opioid crisis, we created it ourselves from the pharmaceutical industry. And when you look at the statistics of the kids that are now on antidepressants, it looks like the pharmaceutical industry is at it again. I hate to call a spade, but we created the problem ourselves. So now, what do we actually do about it? Well, I believe the solution is we get rid of the war on drugs. Stop it. It's a losing war. We've been at it since the 80s, and we've been losing the war on drugs. I say we take all of the resources that we've been putting into the war on drugs and put it into rehabilitation, put it into mental health services. And what you get then is funding into mental health services. It's no different budget-wise, because we're taking the money that's spent on a useless war on drugs and now putting it into something useful like mental health services and rehabilitation. So that's the mental health crisis in a nutshell. What I think a starting place for a solution is. Let's move on to the toxic political climate, because it ties in to everything. You'll see. Stick around. So now, the toxic political climate, and how does that attribute to the mental health crisis? Well, we live in a world where you can't actually talk about anything to anybody. Growing up in America, you say you don't talk about religion, you don't talk about politics with people. That's really dumb. We should be talking about these things with people. The reason we can't talk about these things with people is because it's always one idea versus another idea. It's always Republicans versus Democrats. Don't do that. We're all trying to solve the same problems. What are you doing just arguing about dumb shit like that? Don't do it. Part of the problem is all of this biased media we consume. I hate to break it to you watching this video. There is no such thing as unbiased media. It's not a real thing. If you are telling yourself, well, I watch unbiased media, you're not watching unbiased media. you're watching biased media. This right here is biased. You're getting my opinion from my biases, whether conscious biases or subconscious biases. This is a biased media. Everything you consume is biased media. That's how people work, is we have biases that we attribute to the things we produce. That's a real thing. So the ultimate problem that this leads to is we live in America, we have freedom of speech, but we don't have freedom of discussion, meaning everybody has the freedom to speak, so everybody's just speaking and nobody's listening. I'm not telling you that we should limit anyone's freedom of speech. Everybody should be allowed to speak. But when someone is speaking, shut the fuck up and listen. Actually listen. I don't care whether you're Al-Qaeda, or whether you're a neo-Nazi, or whether you're a feminist, or whether you're Jewish, or whether you're an atheist. Actually have a conversation and try to understand what the other person is saying. That's what I do. Anytime I meet someone, it doesn't matter what background they come from, I try to actually understand this person. Showing respect to people, whether or not you disagree with them, is just being able to have a conversation, hear out somebody's point of view, try to actually understand why they believe it. Nobody believes that they believe the wrong thing. You believe you're right, I believe I'm right. We both believe we're right, so trying to say the other is wrong doesn't get anywhere. Understand why the other person believes that. That is what needs to change in our political climate. If I was Joe Biden, this is why I want to meet Joe Biden, is I would tell him, dude, you need to be inviting people to the White House to talk to them. You should invite Black Lives Matter to the White House to talk to them. You should invite the Proud Boys to the White House to talk to them. You should invite the KKK to the White House to talk to them. Because if you're not even having a conversation with them, you don't even know what's going on. And you're part of the problem. That's what I'm getting at. If I was president, I would be inviting people to the White House to sit down at a table all together and say, what do we do to fix the country? That's what should be happening. And that's what's not happening, and the biggest problem with our political climate. How does this tie into the mental health crisis? Well, you get people shouting at each other. All you get is people shouting at each other. Nobody's listening. Nobody's listening. You get two people talking at each other. Nobody's talking with each other. Nothing gets accomplished. All social media does is promote these gotcha videos of all of these right or left-wing influencers just, trolling, that's the common word, is trolling the opposite side. That doesn't solve anything. Sure, it gets you a good laugh because, this other side is stupid. This other side doesn't know what they're talking about. But they're still people. They're still, just laughing at them doesn't solve anything. Talk to them. Try and understand why they believe that. Try and understand why they don't agree with you. Find common ground that you do agree on. That's what we need in this country. That's what we need. Is people finding a common ground. Not this versus that. That is the toxic political climate. Let's move on to education, because it is either our downfall or our savior. So let's talk about education. Okay, so education. What is wrong with education? Well, for starters, our education system should be preparing us for the real world, not conditioning us for a world that doesn't exist anymore. So you can do your own research on the history of the education system. It came about in the era of the Industrial Revolution because people were working in factories all day and their kids needed to do something all day. So they mimicked the school system after the work day so that when kids would go through school, they would learn to sit down when they're told, pay attention when they're told. When the bell rings, you leave. When the bell rings, you're in class. All of that comes from working in a factory during the Industrial Revolution. They were literally conditioning kids to work in factories. That's a fact. You can look all that up on your own. I don't want to waste time talking about that. But what that's created is it's created a college to unemployment pipeline. The way it used to be was college higher education was a rare thing. It was really for the people who needed a higher education, wanted a higher education, and were going on to do things with it. That's not the case anymore. Now you go to college and an entry-level job is no longer entry-level. It really doesn't matter even what industry it is, because now with AI, even some really, really great jobs are going to be replaced by AI. We've created now our own downfall of technology being able to replace us, and now that it can think, technology can replace what higher education used to do. So not only is the job market flooded, it's basic marketing. There's oversaturation. You got too many people with an associate's degree. The person with the bachelor's degree is going to get the job. Then you got too many people with a bachelor's degree. The person with a master's is going to get the job. And now we're at the point where there's too many people with a master's degree, so now you need a PhD to get the job. It's a snowball effect. So the solution is our education system is flawed. It is. It really is. It's a money scam. That's what colleges are. They're taking your money. College is great for a lot of things. It's great for a lot of people. But if you don't need to go to college, don't go to college. Like, it's that simple. I went to music school for 2 years. I didn't even graduate. I learned a lot from that time. I think it was beneficial. If I could go back in time, I would still do it again. But college is not secure anymore. It's not the safe track anymore. What we should be doing in schools is teaching basic things you need to survive in the system that the government's built, like how to do your taxes. The school doesn't teach you that. But if you don't pay your taxes, the IRS takes your house. What's the sense in that? Schools should be teaching you how to start your own business, how to use technology as it's changing, how to find ways to adapt to the world, not just, the mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell. That doesn't help anyone. Sure, you have a basic understanding of math, science, and history when you come out of school, but it doesn't help. It doesn't help. It doesn't prepare you for the real world, and that's what school should be doing. It should be preparing you for the world, not just conditioning you. So that is my 3 major issues that if I could meet Joe Biden, I would talk to him about. I'd call him out. I'd be like, listen, dude, like, these are problems. Do something about them. You are the president. So if you want me to meet Joe Biden, share this video. Spread it around, because I would love to meet Joe Biden. I'd love to talk to him face to face about real things that matter. Not some filtered, questionnaire. Like, I want to ask him real questions. He's the president. He should be able to answer real questions. So that's the video for this week. Thanks for tuning in. Sorry for the clickbait title, but I thought it was kind of funny. So I might be doing more of those now just because I think they're fun. And it was fun to make the thumbnail. But thanks for tuning in. Like the video, subscribe, and we'll see you next week.